This is Only the Strong Survive, a podcast powered by Kahn Media, where we dive deep into the world of business, leadership, and innovation. I'm your host, Dan Kahn, and I'm honored to have you join us today. So let's get ready to learn some survival skills together.
Can I just come in hot?
Let's do it.
You know, I'm just going to make a statement right here. It makes me feel really good about the car and car culture industry moving forward because we have people like you working so hard and just pushing the limit of what's possible. And then, you know, I can relate to you so much in that way because we've been working together for, I don't even know how many years now, 15 years?
15 years. Yeah.
Something like that? Yeah. So off camera, I asked you, how is it that you even have the time to do a podcast? When your team reached out to me, I was like, no way. How is this even possible?
Yeah, well, same. I'd say the same for you, my friend. You've got a lot of pretty awesome stuff in the background there, which is cool in your shop, and you're everywhere, Larry. I think about that on a regular. Every time I see something new from you, I'm like, how is he doing all of this?
You know, I am. The short answer is you can't take pictures and you can't tell the car culture story from your house. You know, you can't do it from your couch. You have to go out and actually follow it and find it. There's just so much good stuff going on. And it's something that you can't even contain. It's going to happen whether I'm here or not. It's going to happen, honestly, even whether you're there or not. But us feeling the fire helps so much.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Only the Strong Survive. I'm your host, Dan Kahn. And we have a special New Year's Day special episode. You know, we're really, we're grateful for all of you out there who listen, who give us your time, who give us your attention. We recorded 25 episodes this year. I think we've done 55 episodes of the show total over the last 2 seasons. So as a little kind of Christmas, New Year's gift, we wanted to do a best of episode. So we went back through the last 25 episodes and pulled out some of the best quotes, some of the best advice, some of the best leadership thoughts. And of course, the question we ask every guest, what's the biggest mistake you made and what'd you learn from it? We got some of those in there too. And we're really grateful that our guests were able to give us their time. You know, these are all powerful, successful, people that have a lot on their plate and a lot to do. And the fact that they're willing to give us their time, from the governor of Montana to colonels in the military to entrepreneurs and business leaders, volunteers at nonprofits. These are all people that have lots of other stuff to do rather than sit on a call and talk to me about their story. And so we're really grateful that they gave us their time. And so we wanted to kind of go back and grab some of the best clips and share them all with you. So thank you for a great year. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for spreading the word about this little show about business and leadership and entrepreneurship. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday, and we will see you in 2026.
I guess the culture comes from me and how I want to treat our employees and how I expect our managers to treat our employees. I start off with the idea that everybody wants to do a good job, and you just got to find a way to let them. And I also do believe that people are capable of a lot more than what we realize if we challenge them and encourage them. So I'm big on both challenging and encouraging. I got a lot of push. I'm not easy to work for, but at the same time, I'm on their side and I want to help them. And then I think you got to make it personal, right? People need to know that you care about them. And when the moment arises that you really need to show that, you need to show up. Right? If they have something happen to their family or some kind of emergency, you show up and say, how can I help outside of work? What do you need? How can I help you? And I've learned all that from watching other people that had great cultures and decided I really like that. And I want to be like that. I think a lot of who we are in life comes from meeting individuals. We say, I really like this part of Joe and I really like this part of Tom or whatever, and I'm going to try to become like that. So I've picked up those pieces, but that's how I want to treat people. And I ask my subordinate managers that you need to treat people like that too. And there's just nothing wrong with it. And it's good vibes and it's positive, and people want to get on that train and they want to be part of that. But so I just realized, you know, when you're looking at your competitor and you're admiring their people, it's like, if you can't admire your people, you probably need to do more to try to develop and train them, because it's in most of them to be really great at something. So I do that. We try to make them all great.
I think that the kind of leadership gig has changed a lot in the last decade. And now it is so much more because it's just the workplace and the market, and with, the Gen Z employees, especially coming into the workforce, like they're different. I mean, like your dad, my dad, like there was a generation there where I think like you showed up every day and you ground it out and you worked the same job for 30 or 40 years, then you retire and you get the gold watch and you say, thanks. Right.
Yeah.
Like that is not the mindset anymore. So I have to think that, like, for me, it's a big struggle. And I know you're very, very EQ forward, which is, I think, a real, attribute that's really admirable. That probably really helps you now, that at least you're able to sort of understand the why of not only your customers, but also of your own people.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it has helped me quite a bit. There was a book that I read. We're both avid readers, and you might have as well. And I don't remember actually what it's from, but it talked about how different, right, we are going to need to shape our businesses because we're going to have less employees in the United States. And so it's a very interesting, if you just look at even just my company, right, in 1946, people, we were in Southern California and then moved up here to Visalia, California. So about like 3 hours north of Southern California. And 8 out of the 9 employees moved with my grandpa. So there were just like so much loyalty, and they stayed a long time. And the idea, like at that time too, is like people are just lucky to have a job. Like that was the mentality, but they were lucky to have a job, right? So now it's like this very different time where businesses are lucky to have team members. So it's like this shift that we have to make, and it's subtle, but it's really important that as a business, we're looking at like how to motivate our team members, but to like attract them, right? Like to be a really good place to work.
Tell me about your leadership style. How did that evolve? Kind of, is that something that's natural? Is that something you've worked on? You've had a pretty diverse background. So tell me about that.
I love this question, perhaps the most because this is where I get to talk about the fact that once upon a time, I had a lot of talent and I knew it, and the ego got in the way. And it wasn't until I failed miserably life and had some time on the anvil that you realized, oh, I don't have all the answers. It wasn't until I failed and learned from failure that I realized what leadership is. And leadership is about being transparent. Leadership's about saying, I don't know, I could use your help. And learning to ask for help as a leader is hard. But if you do it, then you get surrounded with a good team. And so the background noise of the cough, I apologize, but I don't apologize because that's the intern back there, right? And I couldn't do what I'm doing today without Cole because I'm on his phone. The chief marketing officer is hiding back here. Somewhere back there. She's over there as well. And so Peyton's amazing. And we now have this team of dynamic energy that is explosive.
If you could talk to that 25-year-old who says, hey, I want to be a car builder, I want to start my own shop, I want to do what you guys did, what do you tell them?
Don't chase the stupid shit that doesn't mean anything. Always make your customer happy. And there's always the extra mile that you can do with your labor, even when the customer's pocketbook runs out, especially getting started trying to make your business card.
Yeah, for mine, it's changed over the years. I mean, I actually just had this conversation with a kid who came up to us at the Triple Crown, and it's like a perfect example of this. Young guy, very little experience. He's built like a C10 at home, and he was looking for like advice on what direction to go. Maybe he wants to get into this. Maybe he wants to come work here. And I feel like there's 2 ways that you go. And I explained this to him. Like, number one, if you want to be like the most versatile, best, most talented fabricator out there in this day and age, you really need an engineering background as well, because things have gotten so complex. You're so much more efficient when you have those skills. And I just think it's so beneficial that if you're getting into it right now, I think that's the future of it. The tools, the technology, the way things are going, So I say that, right, to prepare yourself, arm yourself with those skills. But just the general stuff is just, you just got to keep pushing, man. At the end of the day, it's like just push, because it's just that Rocky Balboa quote, it's going to kick your ass every single day. You don't want to give up, and you just got to keep going, take care of the customer and keep pushing. That's it.
Yeah, I think that's key, just to come in again tomorrow and keep fighting that same fight, because as you keep going, there's another day that would kick your ass and make you want to quit. But if you beat that day and you come in the next day and you beat that day and keep moving forward, eventually something good's going to come of it.
Yeah, if you're looking for peace and fame and tranquility and unicorn farts and stuff like that, this ain't it.
This is not the way we're living. No.
I think my piece of advice, I'd go a little bit different angle than these guys, because I'm working on the front side of it. And like you said earlier, there's not a lot of businessmen in this industry. It's not a very complicated business to run. You're selling parts and you're selling labor. Track both of those, understand what you're capable of billing, what you should be and what you're capable of donating to take your cars to the next level, and spend a little bit of time on the business side, because that's what you're doing this for at the end of the day. And if you don't have money in the bank account to pay your bills, then you're not in business anymore, and you're going to go back to doing it as a hobby.
Everybody looks at what somebody has, but nobody looks at what they did to get there. Everything should be, all the focus should never look at what I have, because everything that I have comes from failure and suffering and struggle, and mostly pain that brought me here. Like if you don't think that like I failed and I have lost businesses and I have been in debt and I have like been up against the ropes and I have lost title fights, and I have gotten in trouble in my military career, there's not a single area that you would not, instead of like the Instagram curated editorialized pictures that you see, you actually got to see the real life, like what the boots that I'm wearing right now as I just got back from rucking, or if you took a sniff of my crotch after I just went walking for 12 miles with a backpack on my back, the byproduct is, I have a good looking body, but the work is the thing that you're going to have to subscribe to. The discipline is the thing that you're going to have to subscribe to. The failure is the thing that you're going to have to subscribe to. I'm not saying you have to like rush to failure. But there's a purpose to pain. The pain is this catalyst of change. If I put my hand on a stove and I burn my hand, I learn at a very young age I can't put my hand back on the stone or on the stove. I fall in love with this girl that's like an 11. I'm like a 5, maybe a 6. And she cheats on me with like this rich dude that's better looking. Man, I just learned an emotional lesson, and that catalyst being like the purpose of pain, of transforming how I'm going to act moving forward. So like struggle, if you know what you want to do and you know what your purpose is, find ways to go and suffer and struggle your way through it. And as long as you're focusing on that purpose, all of those struggles and all of that pain will transform who you are in a beneficial way.
Zoom out and say, where is unique human capabilities going to thrive and survive and transcend AI? There's 3 places. One is your personal brand. People will, if you're I'm not worried about AI. People are still going to read my blog with or without AI. People are still going to read my books with or without AI, because they know me and they trust me, and I've built up this personal brand. So that transcends AI, right? So that was a book that I wrote. I wrote a book on personal branding. Then I wrote this book on community. That's pillar number 2. We're always going to need community. As a human being, we don't just want community. We need community, because that helps form our identity. And no matter what happens in this world, if a brand can create a community, it's the ultimate emotional connection, because people are not just connected to, they love your soft drink or they love your cosmetics. They love each other in the community, and they literally belong to the brand. Again, that transcends AI. Now we get to the third part, and that's where Audacious comes in. And it's this uniquely human, transcendental content. It's these activations. It's this excitement that we can create as humans. And one of the things I talk about in the book, which I think is a big idea because it's so overlooked, it's this idea of collective effervescence, this contagious emotion of awe that happens when you bring people together in meaningful ways, because we live in this society where people are longing to belong. They're longing to come together. And if you watch the news, you're going to see this everywhere once you hear me talking about it, that there's this backlash now. There's these trends of young people, Gen Z, coming together to watch movies, to talk about books, to listen to music. So just watch what's happening. And that is awe. Now, the opportunity is, how can we do that as companies? How can we do that as marketing? And, I challenge people in the book. What would it look like if your marketing plan was add more awe? Add more awe to our customers' lives. Make us part of the discussion. Make us memorable. Create something in their lives that's so worthy, so interesting, so compelling. They can't wait to talk to their friends and neighbors about it. So that's kind of how it all fits together, I think. And maybe there's another pillar out there somewhere. But I think, where do humans fit in the AI marketing world? Personal brand, community, transcendental content.
We want to work with the people that we enjoy being around, because not because they're more talented, but because we have to spend so much time together and we have to work well together. I think that's really number one. To your point about, you saying I'm the top, I honestly, not trying to be humble or anything, honestly, legitimately, don't think I'm at the top. And I see so many other people that are better than me, but I try to be as reliable as possible. I try to be friendly, easy to work with, deliver stuff in a timely manner. Like, everything else is basically supporting my photography, because all the time, I say this in so many podcasts and so many videos, I'm standing next to these people that are my peers, that I look up to, that are so much more talented. And even if they're right next to me and we're shooting the same photo, I look at their photo, I'm like, doesn't even look like we're in the same place because your photo is so much better. But that's not the point. The point is, you just have to think about all of it, getting to the track early, even just remembering people's names, making friends, going just a lot deeper on the business sense. And that's, I know your team has really strived to do exactly that, right? That's why people keep calling you guys for work, because it's that reliability, and it's also just being cool to be around. I mean, think of how much time you actually have to spend with all the people that you work with. Something like the SEMA show, oh my God, talk about day in and day out. If it's a punchable face, somebody that you don't want to be with, then it's a rough time, it's a rough entire show.
What advice would you give young professionals who, even if they can't come to the SEMA show, they look at pictures on Instagram and they're just like, oh my God, this is so cool. What do you tell them if they want to build a career in our space?
It's always cliche to, everyone says find your passion, right? And I think there's more to it than just finding your passion. There's this philosophy called ikigai. It comes out of Japan. It's one of the blue zones. And it's this idea that you merge your passion and your skill. So like, what do you love? What are you passionate about? What are you good at? What does the world need? And what can you get paid for? And so my advice to people would be to find that center point of all four of those things. And if you love car culture, then develop the right skill set in something that can help you make a living, that hopefully is something that this culture and this world needs. And I think that's where you find success. So go after that and then give yourself time, because there's, especially now, I think people think like, I've been doing this for 6 months. Okay. And I even, I remember meeting some of the newer creators back in 2015 when it started to become a thing again. And like, RJ, I've been doing this for 3 years. And I'm like, I've been doing it for 20, like,
Yeah.
and I'm still kind of going. And so I think if you love something enough, and you work at building your skill set long enough, that break's going to come, because at some point your skill set's going to be pretty good, and this passion that you have is going to help you accelerate more than most who are not passionate about something, because you're probably working at it 7 days a week versus the person that's working at it 5 days a week. And so I think those things are important, is to find that center point of passion and skill, and then whether the world needs it or not, and whether you can get paid for doing it. So
I love it. And I love the Ikigai reference. We actually spent a whole all hands session on that concept. So that's pretty cool. What's the biggest mistake that you made, and what did you learn from it?
Ooh, there's a few. I think, now I'm sure Jim and I are both that different, but for me, probably not believing in ourselves, that we didn't invest faster or go bigger earlier, and not for any other reason than just, I guess, not for monetary reasons, but to just think you just never had the confidence, and to look back and go, why do you not have confidence in yourself? So it wasn't about necessarily having more, just that I was never confident enough in myself or together to expand. And you always wonder what if, right? So, I mean, I'm proud of what we did, but if I look back, I would have said, I wish we'd have just blew it up.
I don't know, it has something to do with what Mike said. There was times when, for instance, I was trying to sell a car. This is way early times. And I was trying to sell this car, and the guy opened his checkbook and he was going to write me a check which was way more than I thought I could get for the car. And I tried to needle him for a little bit more, and he closed that checkbook, and I sold that car for half of what he was going to give me. And I always remember that. I'm trying to think of the car. Mike, do you remember that?
Well, it was your 69 Mustang. That was long before I was with you. It was one you really did. It was that Gulfstream Aqua 69 drag pack car.
I mean, he had his checkbook open. We were sitting there. He offered me twice what I was going to, and I just tried to nudge him, and he closed that checkbook, and it was done. I sold it for half, which I'll always remember that.
So you maybe got a little too hungry.
Maybe.
No, I guess another regret is I didn't have more kids. Wish I would have had like 4 more. I mean,
oh my God.
Now that they're gone, it's like, I just wish we would have had more. But that has nothing to do with the business. But yeah, have a bunch of kids, everybody.
I learned something with my entertainment background decades before I sold the business. And that was, nobody stays on top forever. Yep. There's a rhythm to these things. And if you want to stay up forever, you're going to have to give away your sanity, your family, and everything else to keep up with it, because you got to be completely obsessed and have very little emotional room for anybody else. And I did another thing, which I'll tell you in a second, that took that pressure off me. I realized my day in the sun, I made it. I was there for several years on that list. I had made a good living, and I, with my accountant, Charlie, came up with a system of every dollar that came in the front door, we took 30% out, put it, before we even see any of it, that paid for the taxes, people's bonuses, this, that, the other. We had a system, and cumulatively over 40 years, a thing built up. So by the time I was ready to sell, I was set based on investments, and selling the business was an actual plus that put us over the top. And it was this thing, that word that I would say everybody needs to realize, and it's everything's cumulative, whether you're making money or gaining weight. Everything is a little bit at a time, and things take their own course. I think the thing that saved me was that I got successful slowly rather than big all at one time, because then it's too much too soon and it drives you crazy. And get rich slow is a good way to do things, because you maintain some semblance to, let's pick a word, reality. Everything worked out because we believed in cumulative. Little things add up.
I think all four of us actually have kids that are pretty close in age, within 4 or 5 years of each other. And because you're right, a point was just made in the last question that a lot of my clients and friends that sold in that first wave, like 10, 15 years ago, when companies first started selling in our industry, were mostly kind of the boomer founders that didn't have someone who wanted to get involved in the business. And a lot of them had kids. They just had kids that weren't interested. So they had nobody to, like, they wanted. And I mean, we're talking about like, Vic Edelbrock's and Barry Maguire's and like people that are Corky Cokers that were like very successful, built really impressive businesses. And they just didn't have anyone in their family that said like, hey, put me in, I want to be involved. And so they sold. So I do think that you guys are all in a really cool position that you were able to do that and continue the legacy. So I wonder, like, how do you approach this with your kids? And like, how do you think about it? Or do you? Like, how does that, they're all young, right? Nobody's like got a 20-year-old at home, but like, how do you approach that? How do you think about it?
I feel like I get this question a lot. I think I'm the oldest out of 15. And I often, because I'm fourth generation, I often get asked if Jensen's going to come into the business, my son. And right now I'm like, oh, that would not be good, right? Because he's 15 and he's maybe not as responsible as I would like him to be. But I think I want to do the same for my parents. I want him to have the freedom. I mean, we have this one life, right? This one precious life. And I want him to do something that he loves. Luckily, I love doing this. I have been so grateful for the amount of like growth opportunity, the amount of opportunity. I'm incredibly lucky for this. I want him to have the same. If he wants to come do that here and he is capable, right? He has the right skill sets and what Hellwig needs, then I think awesome. But if not, I just want him to be happy. Like if he, I don't know, wants to go mow lawns or whatever, like I want my kid to be happy. Like I don't want him to feel the pressure of coming into the business.
I have a 7 and 9-year-old now. My oldest just turned 9. They're all about working for the business. I mean, if you ask them, like, that's what they're going to tell you they want to do. But of course, having the perspective we all have, we all know how many things would have to line up perfectly to make that happen. So I think that for all of us, and including my mom, and it's a beautiful thing to think about. There's so many nuances and realities, and feels a little bit like one of those math equations where there's a train traveling 40 miles away and you have a golf ball and the window's open and you got to hit the golf ball through the window of the train moving. Like it's like there's that complicated to actually kind of make it happen. You just sort of be patient about it and let them grow and see what they take to. And let's face it, got to keep the business moving and keep the business going too, to make that a reality. And I have a lot of the same feelings that I was talking about earlier about how my parents would say, like, we don't want you to have to suffer through this, and have those feelings too. Then on the flip side, the thought of non-Borlas running this company or being involved in this company and not having any Borlas in the company is hard to think about too. Both are really hard to think about. Let's face it, I can't get them to take their dirty dish to the thing. So like it seems like a pretty lofty thing for them to get involved in this. I got a long way to go before I can even think about it.
Right there with
you.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, mine are 8 and 12. What I want to do is like hopefully have the option or the opportunity for them. I want them to be able to find their path and their passion. And then if that brings them back to Malco, then great, they might have that opportunity. But I mean, a lot of things have to align. And I know, like, Dan, if you ask my mom and dad when my sister and I were in college, what do you think the odds are that, Seth and Lauren are going to come back into the business? I mean, my guess is they would have said low. I think they were going to say, oh, Seth and Lauren are going to be living in Colorado. They're going to be doing like Lauren's a teacher. Seth's, I don't know. I'll have to ask them what they thought I would be doing. Probably something in the outdoors industry, to be honest. You look at it now and it's like, we're both rooted in Ohio. We're rooted in our community. That responsibility and even loyalty to our customers, our employees, like, and our family. I mean, like, we're here. You're right. I mean, David, you're right. I mean, there's so many things has to happen. I mean, maybe you can plug the algorithm into Chat GPT and it'll tell you what you have to do to do it. But the reality is so many things. And who do they meet as a partner in life? Where do they go to college? There might be some random event that totally puts them on a different path. So many things have to happen for us to get, fifth generation, it'd be third generation. Who knows?
The highs are really highs and the lows are really low, and they come at a really high frequency. Everyone's experienced that. We bootstrapped all our businesses. Inc. magazine did an article on our business called Start With Nothing. I love hiring very capable young people. They don't know things are impossible yet. I just finished reading Elon Musk's biography. It's a great book. And boy, Walter Isaacson, it's incredible what that man has accomplished just by saying, screw it, we're going to do it anyway. Yep. And I think it's that sheer determination that makes such a difference. I wrote a book entitled Bootstrapping Your Business. Start and grow a business with almost no money. And I've lectured at Harvard and Stanford and Berkeley and London School of Business to their MBA classes. It's so different because if you ask an MBA, how do you start a business? They say, well, you write a business plan and you go raise money. And what they don't say is you start a bonfire and you pitch the money on the bonfire and you hope there's a company there before you run out of money. Right. You look at all the business starts in the US, less than 1% of those businesses raised professional money. Most entrepreneurs bootstrap it. They put stuff on the credit card. They figure out how to scrap together some cash flow. So I give this talk on bootstrapping. The students love it. I've never been invited back to any of these places because it's so different than what the business schools teach. That's the American way.
I love it. That's excellent. Thank you so much, Governor. Really appreciate your time.
It's great seeing you.
Appreciate everything you're doing.
Have a great show.
Thank you.
The biggest mistake I made, I think there's too many mistakes I made. I couldn't just put that into a single moment. But I think one of the things I learned as an entrepreneur, if I had a time machine that I can go back again with, it's in terms of hiring. And hiring is actually one of the biggest challenges I've had running a company, hiring the right people. I've had employees where they were not necessarily A-level performers, and they were inherently lazy or toxic or egotistical. And one of the things I learned hiring hundreds of employees through both my companies is that it's very, very difficult to change somebody. So I thought, okay, you know what? He can work under me and I can change him and I can mold him to become what I want him to be. And I would say that that is almost a recipe for disaster. It's very, very difficult to change people unless they're like exceptionally young and you get started with them early. But when you have someone that is already coming in a certain way and you're like, I can change that person and make them into this person, I think that's the biggest mistake I've made, where I dealt with poor performing employees that didn't have the right vision, and I thought I could change them. I wasted many, many years trying to mold these people, and it just did not work out in the end. And I should have cut it off very, very early on. If you see someone that doesn't have alignment with your vision, doesn't have the work ethic and the passion for it, I think the best thing you can do for yourself, your business, and for that person itself is to just cut ties early on instead of dragging it out.
Well, that does it for our special New Year's Day Best of episode 2025, wrapping up the best clips and advice from all of 25 episodes of 2025. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being a fan of Only the Strong Survive. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend. Please like it or comment on the platform that you're listening to. And again, we really appreciate you giving us your time and your attention. And we're looking forward to some really cool guests in 2026. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.